welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our second lesson on linear equations. If you are in my 8 general class, we are in our Big Ideas book, page 150, lesson 4.2. And if you're in the 7 accelerated class, then we're in our Big Ideas book, lesson 13.2, page 574. Either way, we are going to apply what we learned to find slopes of lines from graphs and tables. Now, slope, that's a very important concept in our linear equations unit, so we really want to pay attention in these videos. There are 3 tonight, 3 of them, so because it's very important. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also going to use actually the slope formula. I didn't put it in there, but we are going to talk about slope formula. Our essential question, how can you use slope of a line to describe the line? So again, depending on what class you're in, depends on what pages you took some notes from, but here's what's important. 1, slope. Slope of a line is indicated by the letter M. Okay, if you want to, let's go back to Sesame Street. The letter M is slope. What is M? Slope. What is slope? M. So anytime we see in a linear equation the letter M, we know that it is slope. Now, slope, according to the book, is the rate of change. Now, I wish they would have put a little bit more on there. It is a constant rate of change, but it is a rate of change nonetheless. Slope is a rate of change. And slope is also the ratio. Now, we just learned about ratios not long ago. A ratio, a comparison of 2 numbers by division. A ratio of the rise to the run. So in the top of the ratio we have rise, in the bottom we have run. It looks like a fraction, and since it's in a ratio, we know that it has some qualities of fractions, meaning we can simplify it. It is slope, and it is a ratio, which means we can have decimals and or fractions in this ratio. Although because we are talking slope, we will always get rid of the fractions in this ratio. You could see some decimals, but mostly not. All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, rise over run. Now, our book does a very horrible job. A horrible job of showing you rise over run. In fact, the book does it backwards. They put run, then rise. Well, why tell you it's rise over run and then show you run to rise? So, let's do it the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a graph. I gave you a copy of that. And so, we're going to go from red dot to red dot, these points. There are other points on this line. In fact, every single point on the line is, but they've indicated some of the main ones. And we're going to talk about rise. Rise meaning, in this particular graph, we're going to start at this red dot and we're going to go up. And we're going to go all the way up to another level of a dot to the right. Now, on a graph is read the exact same way as we read words from a page in a book. From the left to the right. So we always start from a point on the left and we always go to a point on the right. It doesn't matter which one. I could have only gone up to here to do my run to the first black dot. Or I could have gone up to there and done the run to the second black dot. I told you I was going to go red to red. So I'm going all the way up to the same level as the red dot over there, and then I do my run, and my run goes to the right until I get to that point. And so this is the run, and the rise is the red going up. Rise to run. Now, when we look at our next graph, it is possible that we start on a point in this line on the left that is higher than the points on the right. In this particular case, when we run, and I'm going to go red to red again, I'm going to run, but this time I'm going down. So that means I'm going to have a negative. Over here, when we went up, that's going to be a positive. On this one, when we go down, it is negative. And again, again, we run to the right. We run to the right. So ladies and gentlemen, on our rise to run, it's very important to understand that our rise can be up or down because our rise is vertical. Our rise follows the y-axis. We are going up and down. It is vertical. We're going to call that the rise. And if we go up, we're going to call it positive. If we go down, we're going to call it negative. So up is positive, down is negative when we're talking rise. And our run is always to the right. Our run is always positive. Okay? So when we're talking slope, our rise is either positive or negative. Our run is always positive. So we simplify this ratio, we're going to end up with a positive or negative rise and a positive run. Now another definition that they gave us was that the slope was the change in y to the change in x. Well, yes, that is the vertical change, because we're going up or down, to the horizontal change. All right? And how can we find that? Well, putting those words into something that makes sense is what we call the slope formula. And the slope formula is this y2 minus y1. That's the vertical change in y over x2 minus x1, which is the horizontal change in x. All right? So we call this the slope formula. And you want to write that down. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now I'm going to tell you what this means. It means that we have an ordered pair right here. That ordered pair is x2, y2 ordered pair. It just means that 2 just means that that's the second point. We start at the second point, and this other one, y1, x1 here, that is the first point. There are just 2 points on a graph, and then we're going to take them and subtract the y's and subtract the x's. So these sub 2's and sub 1's just means it's the second point we're taking and the first point we're taking. Don't get confused with those sub numbers, and don't worry, when we use slope formula, I will show you that in a heartbeat. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have these graphs, and when we want to describe slope, again, if it rises from left to right, as this first graph does, down here it says rises from left to right, we know we have positive slope. Because when we read it from the left to the right and it rises, we have positive slope. And if it decreases or falls or descends, we have negative slope. So when it falls, we have negative slope. So when our rise is positive, we have a positive slope. When our rise is negative, we have a negative slope, because our run is always positive. Our run always goes to the right. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. We always run right. Remember that. I'm probably going to be saying it 1,000 times. We always run right. Rise can go up or down, positive or negative. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that helps and clarifies some things. That is the end of this first video. There is a quick write, and it's very quick. I want you to write 3 definitions of slope. So write on your paper. Please write this first. Slope M equals, and now write 3 definitions of slope. When you're done, take a quick break and join us for video number 2.